There are days when my chest feels tight before I even open my eyes. When the noise in my head wakes up before I do. When the world feels too loud, too fast, too much. My body clenches, my breath shortens, my thoughts run, and the last thing on my mind is breakfast. But I've learned, on those days especially, that what I eat matters more than ever. Because food isn't just fuel. It's feedback. It's information. And for a nervous system stuck in overdrive, food can be the grounding rope that brings you back. That's what this episode is about. We talk a lot about eating for energy, for weight, for gut health. But what about eating for regulation? Eating for safety? Eating to calm the storm before it becomes a flood? If you've ever felt anxious and not known why, if your heart races after coffee, if your stomach knots during stress, if you swing between high highs and low lows, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're dysregulated, and food can help. Not in a magical, instant fix kind of way, but in a consistent, stabilizing, deeply nourishing kind of way. We'll explore what happens to your nervous system when you eat protein in the morning, why blood sugar spikes mimic anxiety, how certain nutrients like magnesium, B vitamins, and omega-3s literally help your brain calm down, and why warm, slow, fiber-rich meals are often more effective than any motivational quote or cold green juice. Because when your body feels safe, your mind can rest. The first time I noticed the connection between what I ate and how I felt was after a simple breakfast. Scrambled eggs with spinach, a slice of sourdough, half an avocado. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I just ate something warm, grounding, full of protein and healthy fat. And by mid-morning something clicked. I wasn't spiraling. My heart wasn't racing. My mind wasn't darting. I wasn't scanning for the next threat or the next cup of caffeine. I felt okay. Not euphoric, not blissed out, just steady. And for someone whose nervous system used to run on fire and fumes, that was everything. So I started paying attention. Every time I skipped protein, my anxiety spiked. Every time I drank coffee on an empty stomach, my hands shook. Every time I tried to be good with just fruit and low-fat yogurt, I was hangry by 11 a.m. Every time I ate a high-sugar breakfast bar, I felt amazing for 20 minutes, and then crushed under a wave of fatigue and self-doubt. But when I built my meals with nervous system safety in mind, everything changed. And here's what that looked like. First, I prioritized protein. Not just for muscle, but for mood. Protein breaks down into amino acids, which your brain uses to make neurotransmitters. Things like serotonin, dopamine, GABA. The stuff that helps you feel calm, focused, stable. Without enough protein, your brain doesn't have what it needs to self-regulate. So I started including at least 20 grams in every meal. Eggs, tofu, lentils, turkey, salmon, Greek yogurt. Not obsessively, just consistently. Second, I added fiber. Not just for digestion, but for blood sugar. When your blood sugar spikes and crashes, it mimics anxiety. Your heart races, your energy tanks, your mood swings. But fiber, especially from whole foods like beans, oats, veggies, berries, slows the release of glucose, keeping your energy and emotions stable. I stopped fearing carbs. I started choosing carbs that came with fiber and nutrients. Brown rice, quinoa, roasted sweet potato, chia pudding. Third, I respected fat. Healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, fatty fish not only keep you full, they help your brain function. Your brain is 60% fat. Starving it doesn't make you healthy, it makes you foggy, frantic, and flat. I started drizzling olive oil on my veggies. I ate the yolk, I added tahini to my dressings, almond butter to my oats, and instead of anxiety after meals, I felt grounded. Fourth, I minimized stimulants, at least until I had eaten. Coffee isn't the enemy. But caffeine on an empty stomach is like pouring gasoline on a nervous system already in survival mode. So now I eat first, then I sip, and I notice the difference. No jitters, no palpitations, no mental chaos. The biggest shift didn't come from a new supplement or a new food trend. It came from asking my body, what helps you feel safe right now? And then listening, really listening to the answer. Sometimes that answer was a warm bowl of oats with flax and berries. Sometimes it was a lentil soup with turmeric and garlic. Sometimes it was just pausing to eat slowly, without scrolling, without rushing, without shame. Nervous system safety isn't about eating perfectly. It's about consistency, kindness, and giving your body signals that say, you're not in danger anymore. And here's what happens when you eat that way consistently. Your digestion improves because your gut is no longer clenched from stress. Your sleep deepens because your blood sugar isn't crashing at midnight. Your mind clears because your neurotransmitters are finally supported. Your cravings balance out. Your breath slows. Your inner world quiets. This is food as regulation. Food as stability. Food as a daily rhythm of self-care, not in the trendy, Instagrammable way, but in the real, raw, grounded way that makes you feel more like yourself. So if you're riding emotional waves lately, if you feel wired and tired at the same time, if your mornings start with dread or your evenings end with spirals, I want to invite you to try a new rhythm. One that starts with one meal. One that supports your nervous system like it's sacred, because it is. And if you want support, I've put together a free resource called Steady Plates, a nervous system food map with my favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner ideas that calm without sedating, energize without spiking. You can find the link in the description or just comment Steady and I'll send it to you. In our next episode, we're going to slow down even more. We'll talk about what it means to truly rest and how meals can become rituals of rest and repair. It's called Rest-Filled Meals, How Eating Slowly Changes Everything. Until then, eat like your nervous system is listening, because it is, and it's grateful. I used to eat like I was running out of time, standing at the kitchen counter, driving in traffic, answering emails between bites, fork in one hand, phone in the other, swallowing food so fast I didn't taste it, much less digest it. Meals were fuel, function, nothing more. But my body felt it, the bloating, the fatigue, the tight chest, the way my stomach would clench even after something healthy. I blamed the food. I tried new diets, supplements, probiotics, nothing worked. Until one day, a mentor said something that changed everything. Your body can't heal in a state of hurry. That's when I started slowing down. Not just in life, but in how I ate. And something shifted. Dramatically. This episode is about that shift. Because the truth is, how you eat matters just as much as what you eat. You can have the most protein-rich, fiber-full, gut-loving plate, but if you eat it in stress, in distraction, in rush, you miss the nourishment. Your body can't rest and digest at the same time. We'll explore how slowing down during meals helps regulate your nervous system, boost digestion, improve nutrient absorption, and even reduce inflammation. We'll talk about the parasympathetic state, your rest and digest mode, and how eating slowly helps you access it. And we'll dive into the emotional healing that happens when you treat meals as sacred moments instead of background noise. Because sometimes, the most radical act of healing isn't changing what's on your plate. It's changing how you show up to it. I remember the first time I really slowed down to eat. I mean, really. I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't checking the clock. I wasn't thinking about the next task. I just sat at my little kitchen table with a warm bowl of lentils, roasted vegetables, and brown rice. No background music, no distraction. Just me, the food, and silence. At first it felt strange, like I didn't know what to do with all that stillness. I had been so used to eating in a rush, eating while anxious, eating to escape. But as I picked up my fork and actually tasted the first bite, like really tasted it, I felt something unexpected. Relief. My jaw softened, my breath deepened, my shoulders dropped. It was like my body had been waiting, aching, begging for this slowness. Not just for the food, but for the permission to rest. That's when I understood something we never talk about in health culture. Digestion begins long before food hits your stomach. It starts with presence, with breath, with safety. See, when you're in a fight or flight state, rushed, anxious, distracted, your body shuts down digestion. Blood flow is redirected away from your gut. Enzymes decrease, absorption stalls. You might eat the best ingredients in the world, but your body won't receive them. You're not in a state to receive anything. But when you slow down, when you chew intentionally, breathe between bites, even just pause for a few seconds to feel the warmth of the bowl in your hands, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. Your body knows it's safe to process, to soften, to open. And that's when healing begins. Meals that used to leave me bloated began to sit easily. Energy that used to crash in the afternoon started to sustain. I began tasting flavors more deeply. I noticed when I was full without needing to clean my plate. I stopped eating out of habit or boredom. I stopped numbing. I started nourishing. And you know what changed the most? My relationship with myself. Because slowing down to eat slowly reminded me that I deserved that kind of care, that I was allowed to take up time, to enjoy, to savor. What I've come to realize is this: slowing down at the table is a form of rebellion in a world obsessed with speed. It's how we reclaim our humanity, how we remember that we're not machines, that we're not productivity robots, that we are living, breathing beings who digest not just food, but life. And when you eat slowly, something beautiful happens. Food becomes more than function. It becomes ritual. It becomes gratitude. It becomes a pause in the chaos, a chance to check in, a way to say, I matter. This moment matters. You don't need fancy meditation. You don't need an hour-long routine. You just need to sit, breathe, taste, chew. Let your nervous system settle. Let your body know we're not rushing anymore. You're safe. You're fed. You're here. So here's your invitation. Choose one meal this week to slow all the way down. Light a candle, put your phone away, sit at the table, take a deep breath before your first bite. Chew longer than usual. Feel the texture, the warmth, the flavor. Notice how your body responds, not just your digestion, but your whole self. That's the beginning of healing. And if you'd like a little help building that rhythm, I've created a free guide called Rest Rituals, with slow meal ideas, breathing techniques, and gentle practices to bring calm into your eating routine. You can find the link in the description, or just comment rest and I'll send it your way. In our next episode, we're closing this series with something deeply personal, an integration of everything we've explored. Episode 24 is called The Healing Table, where food, body, and soul come together. It's not just about what you eat, it's about how you live, how you belong, how you nourish every part of you. Until then, slow down, taste everything, and remember, healing happens in the quiet. There's a moment just before a meal begins that often goes unnoticed. The quiet pause as someone sets down a bowl, the way the steam curls up from the plate, the silence before the first bite. It's small, ordinary, easy to miss. But to me, that's where the magic lives. Because in that moment, right there, you're home. This is what the healing table is about. It's not just about food anymore. It's not just about high-protein meals or fiber-rich ingredients. It's about everything that happens around the food, the intention, the rhythm, the story, the presence, the permission to arrive fully, to sit down, to breathe, to feel, to belong. You see, the table is more than a piece of furniture. It's a portal, a place where the body, the mind, and the soul finally meet. A place where you remember who you are, not because someone told you, but because your body feels it. It feels seen, fed, loved. This episode is the closing chapter, but it's also the beginning of something deeper. We'll talk about how food is just the entry point, how healing happens when you turn mealtime into a ritual of connection with yourself, with others, with life itself. How your daily meals, yes, even Tuesday lunch, can become acts of reverence, reflection, and repair, and how you can return to this table again and again, no matter how far you've wandered, no matter how long you've been running. Because the table doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just asks you to show up. For a long time, I thought healing would come when I found the right diet, the perfect plan, the one that finally fixed me. I searched, I experimented, I restricted, I binged, I overcorrected. But no matter what I ate, I still felt disconnected, like I was chasing wholeness but never quite arriving. Until one day I stopped trying to fix myself through food, and instead I asked, what if this plate could be a place I come home to? That changed everything. Because the truth is, food is only part of the healing equation. The deeper part, the part no one teaches you, is how you relate to food, how you relate to your body, how you relate to yourself at the table. That's where the healing happens. The healing table is where all the threads we've been weaving, protein, fiber, gut health, blood sugar, nervous system regulation, come together. But they don't just form a meal plan, they form a mindset, a lifestyle, a rhythm that says, I am allowed to be nourished, not just efficiently, but beautifully. So let's talk about what it really means to build a healing table in your own life. It starts with intention, with asking not just what you're eating, but why. Not from guilt, but from grounding. Maybe today you need something hearty and warm because your emotions feel raw. Maybe you need something cool and crisp because your mind needs clarity. Maybe you need protein to feel steady, or fiber to feel full, or color to feel alive. That asking, that awareness, is the first act of coming home. Then comes presence, sitting down, breathing before the first bite, letting go of the multitasking, the rushing, the need to always do. At the healing table, you're not there to perform, you're there to receive, to let food enter not just your body, but your moment. That's how digestion begins. That's how regulation begins. That's how reconnection begins. And then, community. Whether it's just you, or you and your journal, or you and your partner, or a table full of chosen family, healing multiplies when it's witnessed. When someone else says, yes, I feel that too. When you swap stories over lentil stew. When you laugh between bites of roasted vegetables. When you feel less alone with every spoonful. Because food is more than nutrition. It's memory, it's story, it's medicine. So if you've made it this far, through the cravings and questions, through the fiber and fatigue, through the slow breakfasts and nervous system meals, I want to say this to you. You are not broken. You never were. Maybe you've been disconnected. Maybe you've been overwhelmed. Maybe you've learned to numb, to rush, to restrict, to overthink. But somewhere in the middle of all that, you still showed up. You still listened. You still tried to feed yourself better. Not just in nutrients, but in care. And that matters. Because healing isn't just in the big dramatic changes. It's in the small choices, the ordinary moments, the way you pour your tea, the way you chew your food, the way you exhale before a bite and let your body soften. That's where wholeness begins. At the table, in your kitchen, in the quiet rhythm of a life slowly reconnected to itself. I don't care if your meal looks like a Pinterest post or if it's leftovers in a chipped bowl. What matters is how you show up to it. With presence, with kindness, with curiosity, and most of all, with permission to be fully human. So as this series closes, I invite you to create your own healing table. Make it sacred, make it simple, make it yours. Fill it with protein and fiber, yes, but also with grace, with slowness, with story. Let every bite be a gentle reminder that your body is worth feeding. Not because it performs or looks a certain way, but because it carries you, because it breathes, because it feels, because it's home. If you want to go deeper, I've created a final companion guide called the Healing Table Toolkit. Inside are meal rituals, food journaling prompts, nourishing meal ideas, and space to design your own version of what this table means to you. You can find the link in the description, or simply comment healing, and I'll send it to you. From my table to yours, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing food not as punishment, but as peace. May you eat slowly. May you eat fully. May you come home to yourself again and again and again.